Gear Nerds. So, as promised, I am going to show you guys a really awesome platform amp for your modeler or your effects pedal board. The name's going to surprise you. Don't let it scare you because this thing's awesome. It is a BOGNER designed, and here we go, line 6 tube amp. As you can see here, it has a bunch of different options on it, all controllable from MIDI or AES EBU link. That is a kind of a line 6 proprietary thing. The great thing about the link is you only have to have one cable going from your pedal board to your amp. That being said, if you've got a Kemper or a Head Rush or an X Effect, you only have to have two. You'll have to have your output cable to go into the effects return of the DT amp and a MIDI cable to do all the switching on the amp. And that's it. So if you've been using a 4-cable method because you like the effects on your Kemper or your Helix or your X Effects, but you still want to use a real tube amp, this is a way to get rid of some of that mess. I know me personally, I've been playing in small local bands my entire life, and a lot of times they throw these shows and you're one of 2 or 3, sometimes 5 or 6 bands for the night, and you've got very little time to get on and off stage, so you don't want to have to be messing with 4 or 5 cables, 4-cable method, and it's usually 5. So it saves you a lot of time and distress. Less cables, less things that can go wrong. But the key is this is a full-on tube amp. And this amp by itself, it's a BOGNER amp, so it sounds freaking great. And it's not your typical line 6 amp. There's no effects built into this amp. Everything that happens here happens on an analogish level. So as you can see here, you can switch from a Class A to a Class AB amp. You can switch between a pentode and a triode amp. These things, usually took a soldering gun and somebody that knew what the hell they were doing. Now it can be done with a foot switch. And the MIDI, it's easy. It's easy. If you don't even have to have any MIDI language knowledge. I mean, most of these effects pedals out these days, like your Kempers and your Head Rush, you can assign MIDI commands in there. It's easy peasy. Go to Line 6 website. For each of these amps, they have a MIDI implementation guide that just tells you what commands do what. And it's easy peasy. And also you can see over here, you can switch between 4 different voicings. So number 1 here, they call it tight American classic. So it kind of gives you a nice clean Fender-ish amp type vibe. And then you click up the 2 and it gives you, it's a little looser and got a little bit of dirt to it, kind of more of a chimey, voxy type atmosphere. And then you get up to 3 and you get into your modern-ish British crunches, ish, say that a few times. Anyways, like your Marshalls and things like that. And then number 4 is your modern high gain stuff. So if you've got on your modeler, let's say you're trying to run an Angle amp or a Mesa Boogie or something like that, you would put it on number 4 here. And these things, the way I understand it, they're supposed to be just affecting the preamp inside of this BOGNER DT50 amp. But I have found that when I plug my Helix, that's what I'm using for a modeler, when I plug my Helix into the effects return of this amp, using these 4 topography switches vastly changes the tones that I'm getting. So I've been tending to use one for all my clean stuff, um, and three I've been using for my leads because it's got a little bit more gain in it and it actually jumps up a little bit in volume. And then I've been using number four, the modern high gain setting, for all my heavy distorted rhythm channels. It sounds way more. It's got way more scooped mids, and yeah, pairing these up with a modeled preamp. Like I don't know if Kemper or Headrush does this, but in Helix, you have the option when you're choosing an amp model, you can choose the full modeled amplifier or just the preamp, a modeled preamp of that same amplifier, or an amp and cab where they actually stuff an IR in there for you. So I've just been using the modeled preamps and then running that into the DT. Um, and man, I'll tell you what, it sounds great, and the options and possibilities are endless. I'm going to give you a quick run through here next of just the examples of the things that you can control, either via MIDI with any modeler you have, as long as it's got MIDI on it, or with your Helix. And then we'll give you some sound samples. So here we go, guys. This works for anybody. Right here, I've got a Helix set up, and this is a Helix editor. But it's the same concept no matter what amp modeler you're using, as long as it has MIDI and is able to send out MIDI commands. Um, the Like I said before, the advantage with the Helix is you only need one cable, as to where other amp modelers you're going to need two cables. You'll need a, like your 1/4 inch out going into the effects return and a MIDI cable. But some of the things that you can access are those topographies that I showed you. You can also change the channels, of course, because it's a 2-channel amp. Not that you would really need to if you're using amp modelers. You just change channels on your modeled amp. But that being said, the preamp of this DT amp sounds freaking incredible. So if you want to, say use an amp, a modeled amp in your modeler for your clean channels, which is what I do sometimes, and then I'll actually switch to channel B of the DT and turn off the amp, the modeled amp in my modeler, and on channel B I'll have just the preamp of the real amp that I'm using that's got a nice heavy. If you're into metal, this DT amp just by itself with a guitar plugged straight into it, and you've got it on the number 4 topography setting and pentode and class A and some gain turned up, man, it's got some low end balls that just punches you in the stomach. It's great sounding amp. Anyways, you can also have the reverb be on or off, and if it is on, you can set what percentage of reverb you want. And with the DT50 only, you can actually send a boost to your preamp tubes, to your 12AX7 tubes. And you can also pick your feedback capacitors as tight or smooth. I keep them tight. But sometimes for my lead channel, I'll have it switch over to smooth. And then your B plus voltage settings. And I'm not even really sure what that is, but you can switch it. So yeah, and all these things can be done via MIDI too, from your Kemper or whatever else you got. So let's get into some sound samples, shall we? Okay, time for sound snippets. The first one's going to be a little bit metal. We are using Gibson HP on the bridge pickup, drop D tuning. We are going to do the rhythm section with an Angle Meteor stock out of the Helix, just a stock Angle Meteor preamp. I didn't even touch any of the controls on it, just however they have it loaded in there. I think here's a snippet. There you go. There's the settings on the amp. And I also, as you can see, just have one pedal in front of it, a modeled Tube Screamer 808, which they call the Screamo 808. Here's the settings for that. And the DT amplifier, for the rhythm part, it's set to voicing 4 on the 4 available voices. And on the lead part, it's going to be on voicing 3, which gives it a little more high-end kind of. The voicing 4 is a little mid-scoop, so this is going to add some high-end. Both of these will be on pentode mode, Class A mode on the DT. So here you go. Okay, I'm just playing all this off the cuff, so don't judge. We're just listening to the tones. Okay, next snippet. Okay, boys and girls. Right now I've got it set back onto the same settings that I did the rhythm with on that last little snippet. With the, angel from the helix going in there, or angle, excuse me, into the DT50s. Effects return. It's on pentode, Class A amplifier on number 4 voicing, which is modern high gain. So I was just going to chug through a little bit and switch some of those settings. Switch it over to a triode, switch it over to a Class AB amp. Here, let's... so here's pentode, and now we're gonna go. Oh, that was triode. Now we're gonna go pentode. Huge volume jump. Back to triode. The triode sounds a little gustier to me, for sure. I've got this amp, this particular one of the DT series amps is the 212 combo. It's got 2 speakers in it. One of them's a Celestion G12. One of them is a Vintage 30. I have the Vintage 30 mic'd up with an SM57 on the cone, off axis, pretty much right up against the grill. I'm going to keep it there for all the sand samples. So right now I'm going to chug. We're going to start out, we're on the triode, voicing number 4, Class A amplifier. I'm going to switch it to a Class AB amplifier while I'm chugging. Class A, Class AB, Class A, Class AB, pentode. Now I'm going to go to voicing number 3. We're on Class AB, pentode. Voicing 3. It's probably going to be loud. Definitely gets a lot brighter, a little more sparkly, or a little more high-ended. It's going to be a lot more apparent when we break out the next guitar, this Porter up here behind me. Handcrafted in Boise, Porter guitars and pickups. Check them out. Amazing stuff. Anyway, that's voicing number 3 on pentode, Class AB. Let's take it down to Class A. Definitely got a lot louder on Class A. Got some buzz in there. I'm going to take it back up to, let's take it down to triode. Ooh, I like that. So that is Class A triode on the 3rd voicing. Let's take it to voicing 2. and voicing 1. And why not? Let's go to class AB again. And let's go to pentode again. Let's take it back down to voicing number 4. So that's voicing number 4 on pentode, class AB. Alright, let's break out the porter and do some cleaner tones with the single coil pickups. Okay, now we have the porter. This is the Porter Croesus. Quick change pick guards, and they have several to choose from with lots of different pickup combinations. Ingenious. The threads for the pick guard have steel inserts so you don't wear out the wood changing these in and out all the time. Brilliant. Croesus. Apparently that's the thing that chameleons go through when they're changing colors, so apt name. Porter Guitars, Boise, Idaho. And no, this is not paid. I just really like the guitar, and I really like the guys that own it and build these things. They're great guys. Anyways, I could go on about that. So here we go. We're on voicing number 1, Class A amp, pentode on the DT. And in the Helix, we are using a Who-Watt, which I'm guessing is a high watt. And I still have the Scream 808 in front of it, the tube screamer. Right now it's off though, so it's just straight clean into the pentode. Right now I'm on the bridge pickup, volume and tone all the way up. Let's change to voicing number 2. Adds a little tiny bit of crunch to it, brightens it up. Let's go to voicing number 3. Ooh. Even more crunch. And voicing number 4. Kind of scooped again, as it does. Made it a little darker. So, you know, for this style, I usually keep it on voicing number 1, unless I want a little push, a little crunch, then I'll put it to 2 for these cleaner single pickup tones. So right now, we're back to voicing number 1, pentode, Class A amp. Let's take it to triode. Now let's keep it on triode, voicing 1, and go up to a Class AB amplifier. And let's go ahead and take it back up to a pentode, Class AB amplifier. But that's the cool kind of thing is, like, I'm pretty sure that a high watt, which is the modeled amp we're using, is a Class A amp. So you can kind of set up the tube section of this DT to match the real amp that you're trying to model, you know? So right now, we'll go to pentode class A, which I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, because it might not be a pentode, but I'm pretty sure the high watt 100 is a pentode class A amplifier. So I think, you know, much the same that what's his name, Mr. G used, right? Right? Okay, so yeah, those are some of the differences in tone that you can get just out of the amplifier. You know, never mind what you may or may not be switching around on your amp model. So yeah, brilliant. And it can all be done with the Helix or any device that's got MIDI. And let's just for shites and giggles, let's turn on this tube screamer, shall we? Same settings as before, 0 gain, 7.5 on the tone, and 9.5 on the volume. Still on the bridge pickup. Let's go up to bridge and middle. And let's throw some gain in there from the tube screamer. Bridge and middle. That being the bridge pickup. I'm probably going to get more questions about this guitar than I am the DT amplifier, because this thing is freaking incredible, right? Let's hear the bridge clean, shall we? Take off that tube screamer. Let's take it down the bridge. So anyways, little taste of what this amp can do for you. I think all of them run around at $1,000, which, you know, it's a lot of money, but it's a BOGNER, okay? It's a BOGNER tool amp, and it does lots of cool stuff. So there you go. Take it or leave it. I think it's great. It serves every purpose I need it to. Like, having this amp paired up with the Helix, and especially with one of the Line 6 Variax guitars, it's like, oh man, the possibilities are endless. So any questions, comments, put them down below. Like and subscribe, or I kill you. No, I'm just kidding. No, we'll take what we can get. Happy jamming.